Here, just listen, yeah. So today I am solving quadratic equations by completing the square. You should have hopefully learned this last year. What my goal is I want one side to be a perfect square so I can use the square root method to solve. When I'm doing this, I want to get all of my variable terms on one side and the number, the constant term, on the other side. So for number 1, I want to start off by adding 6 to the other side. Then I get x squared plus 2x equals 6. Okay. Then what I want to do is I want to find my b value, which here is 2, the number in front of the x. And then I want to find 1/2 of my b value. So I'm going to find 1/2 of 2, which is, what's half of 2? 1. Okay, then what I want to do is I want to square b and add it to both sides, because I want to make sure my equation is staying equal. So what I add to one side, I have to add to both sides. Okay, then I want to simplify that b squared. So what's 1 squared? 1. Okay, then I want to factor my left side. So what multiplies to 1 and adds to 2? 1. 1 and 1. So since it's 2 of the same, I can write it as x plus 1 squared. And then on the right side, I just combine like terms to get 7. Okay, now this looks more like something we were doing yesterday. So how do I solve it? Square root both sides. So I end up with x plus 1 on the left, and then plus or minus, can I simplify the square root of 7? No, so it stays plus or minus the square root of 7. Then what do I want to do? So then I get x equals -1 plus or minus the square root of 7. And then this is my final answer. Questions here? Okay, so sometimes our a value isn't 1. That means there's a number in front of our x squared. What I need to do when this happens is I want to divide all of my numbers by my a value. So I'm going to divide everything in number 3 by 2 before I get started. So that's going to give me x squared plus 4x plus 3 halves equals 0. And then now it's just like the problem from number 1. So what I want to start off by doing is I want to subtract 3 halves from both sides. So I get x squared plus 4x equals -3 halves. Then I want to find half of my b value. So my b value here is 4. So I want half of 4, which is 2. So I'm going to go ahead and add 2 squared to both sides. Okay. So what is 2 squared? 4. So on my left side, what multiplies to 4 and adds to 4? 2. On my right side, I want to add -3 halves and 4. If I do this on the calculator, if I do -3 divided by 2 plus 4, it'll give me a decimal, but I can turn this back into a fraction by pressing math. And then my first choice will turn it into a fraction, so I just press enter and then enter again, which gives me 5 halves. And then what do I want to do from here? Square root. So then I get x plus 2 on the left equals plus or minus. Can I simplify the square root of 5 over 2? No. Okay. Then what do I want to do? Subtract the 2 on both sides. So I end up with x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 5 halves as my final answer. So same idea for number 4. On this one, my a value is 3, so I want to divide all of those numbers by 3. I end up with x squared minus 4/3 x minus 5/3 equals 0. Then I want to go ahead and add 5/3 to both sides. So I get x squared minus 4/3 x equals positive 5/3. Okay, then I want to find half of my b value. So I want to find half of negative 4/3, which I can again type onto my calculator. So if I have 1/2, and then I multiply by negative 4/3. This gives me a decimal on the calculator. I press math. I press enter twice. It gives me negative 2/3. So I want to add negative 2/3 to both sides. Negative 2/3 squared. So remember when I square fractions, I square the top number and the bottom number separately. So I have x squared minus 4/3 x, and then 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, so I have 4/9 for my fraction, equals 5/3 plus 4/9. Then I want to factor on my left side. Notice on all the other completing the square ones we did, whenever I factored, that number I got inside the parentheses was always 1/2 of my b value. It'll always be 1/2 of my b value. So instead of looking for what multiplies to 4/9 and adds to negative 4/3, I can just take this b value, which is negative 2/3, and it will always work out. And then on the right side of the equation, I just want to add those two fractions together. Which gives me 19/9. Then I just want to square root both sides. So on the left side, I have x minus 2/3. On the right, I have plus or minus. Can I take the square root of 19? No. Can I take the square root of 9? What's the square root of 9? 3. Then I want to isolate my variable, so I'm going to add 2/3 to both sides. Which will get me x equals 2/3 plus or minus the square root of 19/3. Questions here on number 4. Okay, skip number 6 because I accidentally typed it exactly the same as number 4. So I will give you guys 5 minutes to work on number 5.